Hidden power. In the distant future, the galaxy was a vast and dangerous place. The Xoreth Empire, one of the most feared and powerful forces, controlled many star systems. Their reach was long, and their armies were vast. They had conquered countless worlds, crushing any who dared to resist. Their advanced technology and ruthless tactics made them nearly unstoppable. On the edge of the galaxy, far from the Xoreth's attention, lay a forgotten space station. This station was once a bustling hub of human activity, but now it was old and nearly abandoned. The Xoreth had no interest in it, thinking it was just a relic of the past. They believed humanity had vanished long ago, a mere legend among the stars. Little did the Xoreth know, this old space station was more than it seemed. Hidden within its ancient walls was a secret that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The station had been carefully maintained and upgraded by a small group of humans who had survived the fall of their civilization. They had spent years preparing for the day they would reveal their hidden strength. The humans had rebuilt the station into a massive warship, unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. The ship was equipped with powerful weapons and advanced technology, far beyond what anyone thought humanity could still produce. It was a marvel of engineering, a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. The crew aboard the ship was small but highly skilled, trained to operate and maintain the complex systems of their new home. One quiet day, while the galaxy's attention was focused elsewhere, the Xoreth Empire set their sights on a new target. They had discovered a rich sector of space that promised valuable resources and strategic advantages. Confident in their superiority, they planned a swift and brutal campaign to seize control. As the Xoreth fleet approached their new target, they picked up faint signals from the old space station. These signals were weak and fragmented, almost as if the station was trying to send a message from long ago. The Xoreth commanders, busy with their plans, dismissed these signals as nothing more than background noise. They were certain that no real threat could come from such an old and forgotten place. However, the humans on the station were not idle. They had been monitoring the galaxy's events and knew that their time to act was nearing. As the Xoreth fleet drew closer, the human crew began to prepare their warship for action. The ship's systems hummed to life, and its weapons were calibrated for combat. The humans had a clear objective: to demonstrate their strength and remind the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. They had been waiting for this moment, and they were ready to make their presence known. The ship's advanced sensors detected the Xoreth fleet's movements, and the humans began to plot their strategy. In the dark void of space, the old space station, now a formidable warship, moved silently, preparing for the confrontation. The Xoreth Empire, so sure of their dominance, was unaware that they were about to face an enemy they had long forgotten. As the Xoreth fleet entered the sector, they continued to ignore the weak signals from the space station. They were focused on their mission, confident that nothing could stand in their way. But the humans were ready, and the stage was set for a dramatic and unexpected clash. The old space station, with its hidden power, was about to reveal itself, and the galaxy would soon see that humanity's legacy was far from over. The first part of this story ends with the Xoreth Empire on the brink of discovering the true power hidden in the old space station. The humans, hidden in plain sight, were about to show that they still had a significant role to play in the galaxy's power dynamics. The galaxy's balance was about to shift, and the Xoreth would soon learn that underestimating humanity was a grave mistake. Unexpected signals. The Xoreth Empire was on a high alert as they advanced towards the new sector. Their massive fleet, with its sleek and powerful warships, was well prepared for what they anticipated would be an easy conquest. They had already begun to deploy their troops and set up their plans for the invasion. The sector's rich resources and strategic locations seemed like the perfect addition to their growing empire. Meanwhile, on the fringes of this sector, the old space station, now a state-of-the-art human warship, was ready for its first test. Hidden behind layers of ancient debris and cosmic dust, the station had become a sleeping giant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The human crew, small in number but large in skill and determination, had meticulously prepared for this day. They were fully aware of the approaching Xoreth fleet and had no intention of being a mere footnote in history. As the Xoreth fleet drew closer, their advanced sensors scanned the space around them. Among the countless signals and cosmic background noise, a faint, irregular signal caught the attention of a junior officer. The signal seemed old and broken, barely noticeable among the myriad of space phenomena. The officer, unsure of what to make of it, brought it to the attention of his superiors. The Xoreth commanders, confident in their superiority, were not initially concerned by this minor anomaly. They assumed it was just a glitch or a remnant from an old, forgotten system. The fleet's primary focus was on their invasion plan. They were sure nothing significant could come from such a distant and ancient source. However, the signal was not just random noise. It was a deliberate, though fragmented, communication from the hidden human warship. The crew aboard the warship had intercepted the Xoreth's communications and noticed the approaching fleet. They decided to send a message, albeit a weak one, as a test of their enemy's response. The message was a subtle but clear indication that humanity was not as extinct as the galaxy believed. Back in the Xoreth command ship, the signal began to raise a few eyebrows. The signal's irregular patterns and the old-fashioned technology behind it sparked curiosity among some of the fleet's scientists. They theorized that it could be a relic from a long-lost civilization, but most of the high-ranking officers dismissed it as irrelevant. They had more pressing concerns, and the idea that it could be a sign of any real threat seemed far-fetched. Despite the general dismissal, a few officers, intrigued by the signal, decided to investigate further. They requested a closer scan of the signal source and began analyzing it for any patterns or messages. Their investigation revealed a few more details that hinted at something more significant than a simple malfunction. As the Xoreth fleet continued its journey, the human warship maintained its low profile, using the time to prepare for what was to come. The humans were fully aware that their enemy was powerful and prepared, but they also knew that surprise and strategy were their best allies. They took advantage of the Xoreth's distraction and continued to make final adjustments to their weapons and systems. The signal from the human warship was meant to be a warning, a challenge, and a declaration. It was an attempt to show that humanity was not just a forgotten myth but a force to be reckoned with. As the Xoreth fleet moved closer, the tension grew. The humans knew that their moment was near, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Despite the Xoreth's confidence, the mysterious signal began to make them uneasy. Some of the fleet's officers started to question their earlier assumptions. The signal, though weak, had planted a seed of doubt in their minds. They began to wonder if there might be more to this ancient signal than they had first thought. The story concludes this part with the Xoreth fleet approaching their target, now with a growing sense of unease about the unexpected signal. The human warship, hidden and prepared, was ready to reveal itself. The first step of the confrontation was set, and the galaxy was about to witness a clash between old legends and new realities. The first clash. The Xoreth fleet advanced steadily towards their new target, their warships gliding through space with practiced ease. The commanders were confident that their mission would be successful. They had faced many enemies before and had always emerged victorious. The old space station, which had been nothing more than a minor concern, was far from their minds. Unbeknownst to them, the human warship was ready and waiting. Inside its high-tech corridors, the crew moved with purpose. They had spent years preparing for this moment, and now their time had come. Every system was checked, every weapon calibrated, and every plan rehearsed. The humans knew they faced a formidable foe, but they were determined to defend their home and show the galaxy that humanity was far from defeated. As the Xoreth fleet neared the sector where the space station was located, their sensors picked up a new, stronger signal from the old station. The signal had become clearer and more powerful, indicating that something significant was coming from that direction. The Xoreth commanders ordered their ships to prepare for possible contact, but they remained skeptical. To them, it still seemed unlikely that this old relic could pose any real threat. Without warning, the human warship emerged from its hiding place, revealing its massive and intimidating presence. Its sleek, powerful hull and advanced weaponry were a stark contrast to the ancient, dilapidated space station it had once been. The Xoreth fleet was stunned as the human ship came into view. It was far more advanced and deadly than they had ever imagined. The human warship opened fire first, unleashing a barrage of energy beams and missile salvos. The Xoreth ships were caught off guard by the sudden attack. Their initial defense was weak, and several of their ships suffered severe damage. The Xoreth commanders quickly scrambled to respond, ordering their fleet to return fire and engage the new enemy. The battle that followed was intense and chaotic. The human warship maneuvered with incredible agility, using its advanced technology to dodge incoming fire and strike with precision. The Xoreth ships, despite their firepower, struggled to match the human ship's speed and accuracy. The humans used every advantage they had, from advanced shield technology to devastating weaponry, to press their attack. One Xoreth ship after another fell victim to the human warship's assault. The Xoreth forces, who had been so confident of their victory, were now faced with a powerful and unexpected opponent. The human crew, motivated by the desire to prove themselves and protect their home, fought with determination and skill. They expertly coordinated their attacks and defended their ship against the Xoreth's counterstrikes. The battle raged on for hours, with both sides taking heavy losses. The Xoreth fleet, now fully engaged, tried to regroup and adapt their tactics. They launched coordinated strikes and used their superior numbers to overwhelm the human warship. But the human ship's defensive systems held strong, and it continued to inflict significant damage on the Xoreth fleet. As the battle reached its climax, the human warship executed a daring maneuver. It used its advanced sensors to predict the Xoreth fleet's movements and launched a surprise counterattack. The Xoreth ships, already battered and exhausted, were caught off guard once again. The human warship's final assault proved devastating, crippling several Xoreth ships and forcing the remainder to retreat. The Xoreth fleet, now in disarray, began to withdraw from the sector. The human warship had won its first major battle, proving that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The Xoreth commanders were stunned by the outcome. They had underestimated their enemy and had paid a heavy price for their arrogance. As the Xoreth fleet retreated, the human crew celebrated their victory. They had faced a powerful opponent and had emerged victorious. The battle had been hard-fought, but it had demonstrated the strength and resilience of humanity. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not just a forgotten myth but a formidable force with the power to shape the future. This part of the story ends with the first clash between the human warship and the Xoreth fleet. The humans have made their presence known and have shown that they are not to be underestimated. The stage is set for the continuing conflict and the unfolding drama of the galactic struggle. Galaxy reacts. The news of the unexpected battle between the human warship and the Xoreth fleet spread quickly across the galaxy. In an era where information traveled at the speed of light, every corner of the galaxy buzzed with rumors and reports about the shocking confrontation. The galaxy's various factions, each with their own agendas and interests, were all keenly aware of the implications of this newfound power. The Xoreth Empire, known for its might and dominance, had been dealt a significant blow. Their defeat, though not total, was enough to make other civilizations sit up and take notice. The Xoreth commanders, who had once been confident in their supremacy, were now facing questions and doubts from their own ranks. The Empire's leadership scrambled to assess the situation and understand how a seemingly obsolete space station could have posed such a serious threat. News outlets across the galaxy reported the battle in various ways. Some news channels portrayed it as a dramatic and unexpected turn of events, while others focused on the implications of humanity's return. For many, the idea that humanity, once thought to be lost or forgotten, could still wield such power was both thrilling and alarming. Among the galactic factions, reactions varied widely. The Crithar Coalition, a group of independent planets with a reputation for neutrality, were deeply intrigued by the news. The Crithar had always prided themselves on staying out of major conflicts, but the reappearance of humanity and their impressive technological capabilities drew their interest. Many within the coalition saw this as an opportunity to form new alliances, or at the very least, gather valuable information. The Tuvran Syndicate, a shadowy organization known for its covert operations and underhanded dealings, saw the human warship as a potential asset. They were already planning to investigate the humans further, hoping to exploit any opportunities for their own gain. The Syndicate had always operated in the background, and this new development was a chance to expand their influence. The Vorten Federation, a highly militarized and expansionist power, viewed the human warship with a mix of admiration and envy. The Federation's leaders saw the humans' advanced technology as a challenge to their own supremacy. They began to consider how they might gain access to or replicate the technology behind the human warship. For the Vortens, the appearance of humanity was both a threat and a potential opportunity to boost their own military capabilities. In the midst of these reactions, the Galactic Council, a body representing the major powers and governing bodies of the galaxy, convened an emergency session. The Council was concerned about the balance of power and the potential for escalating conflict. They debated whether to intervene, offer support to the Xoreth, or engage with the newly revealed human power. Their discussions were tense, as members recognized that humanity's return could disrupt the established order and lead to unforeseen consequences. As the various factions pondered their next moves, the Xoreth Empire began to regroup. They sent out feelers to other galactic powers, seeking assistance and alliances to counter the new threat. They were determined to regain their lost prestige and show that their earlier defeat was an anomaly, not a sign of decline. The human warship, meanwhile, continued to operate with a sense of cautious optimism. The crew knew that their recent victory was just the beginning, and that the galaxy would now be watching their every move. They were prepared for more battles and challenges ahead, fully aware that their actions would influence how other factions perceived them. The galaxy was abuzz with speculation and anticipation. The return of humanity had sparked a new chapter in galactic history, one filled with uncertainty and potential. The initial clash had set the stage for a larger conflict, with new alliances forming, old rivalries intensifying, and the balance of power shifting in unpredictable ways. This part of the story ends with the galaxy reacting to the surprising reappearance of humanity and the aftermath of the battle. The various factions are beginning to understand the significance of the new player on the galactic stage, setting the stage for future interactions and conflicts. Show of strength. The news of the human warship's surprising victory over the Xoreth fleet spread quickly, sending ripples through the galaxy. The various factions, each with their own agendas and ambitions, were eager to see how humanity would follow up on this unexpected display of power. The Xoreth Empire, still reeling from their defeat, sought to reassert their dominance. They had been humiliated, and their pride was at stake. The Empire's leadership decided to launch a large-scale offensive to demonstrate that the earlier battle was an anomaly rather than a sign of weakness. They assembled their most formidable fleet and prepared for a decisive confrontation with the human warship. On the other side, the human crew knew that their recent victory was only the beginning. They had proven themselves capable, but they understood that they needed to maintain their strength and show that their earlier triumph was no fluke. They worked tirelessly to upgrade their ship, enhance their weapon systems, and fine-tune their tactics. The human warship was now more than just a relic. It was a symbol of a resurgent power. As the Xoreth fleet approached, the human warship was ready. The Xoreth ships, now with a clear objective to crush their new adversary, formed a massive battle formation. Their weapons were primed, and their fleets were deployed with precision. The Xoreth commanders were determined to make a statement and regain their lost prestige. The battle began with a dramatic display of firepower. The Xoreth fleet unleashed a barrage of energy beams and missiles, aiming to overwhelm the human warship with sheer force. The human crew, prepared for this onslaught, responded with equal intensity. They deployed their advanced defensive systems, including energy shields and countermeasures, to protect their ship from the Xoreth's assault. The human warship maneuvered with agility, using its superior technology to dodge incoming attacks and return fire with pinpoint accuracy. The Xoreth fleet struggled to adapt to the speed and effectiveness of the human ship's counterattacks. The battle quickly turned into a high-stakes game of strategy and endurance. The human warship's weapon systems proved to be a major advantage. Their energy cannons and plasma torpedoes struck with devastating force, crippling several Xoreth ships in quick succession. The Xoreth fleet, despite their numerical advantage, found themselves on the defensive. The human ship's superior technology and tactics gave them the upper hand. In a bold move, the human warship executed a series of coordinated strikes that targeted key components of the Xoreth fleet. They aimed at disabling the Xoreth's command ships and communication hubs, causing confusion and disrupting the enemy's coordination. The Xoreth ships, now struggling to maintain their formation, were forced to retreat under the relentless assault. The battle raged on, with both sides taking heavy losses. The human warship's crew, driven by their desire to prove their strength, fought with determination and skill. They executed complex maneuvers and precise attacks, showcasing their advanced technology and tactical prowess. The Xoreth, on the other hand, were forced to contend with a foe that was far more formidable than they had anticipated. As the battle reached its climax, the Xoreth fleet began to withdraw. The human warship had achieved a significant victory, proving that their earlier success was not a mere fluke. The Xoreth commanders, humbled by their defeat, recognized the strength and resilience of their new adversary. They knew that any further engagement would require careful planning and a reassessment of their strategies. The human crew celebrated their success, knowing that they had made a powerful statement. Their victory was a testament to their strength and resolve, and it sent a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity was back, and they were not to be underestimated. The show of strength had established the human warship as a significant player in the ongoing galactic struggle. This part of the story ends with the human warship's successful display of power and the Xoreth fleet's retreat. The stage is set for further developments and confrontations as the galaxy adjusts to the presence of this resurgent human force. Allies form. Following the dramatic clash between the human warship and the Xoreth fleet, the galaxy was abuzz with excitement and speculation. The defeat of such a powerful enemy by a previously forgotten force was a story that spread quickly, capturing the attention of various factions and powers. The impact of the human warship's victory was profound, prompting many to reconsider their positions and seek new alliances. The Xoreth Empire, still reeling from their losses, recognized the need for allies. Their earlier confidence had been shattered, and they needed support to regain their standing and counter the threat posed by the humans. The Empire reached out to several neighboring factions, offering mutual defense agreements and economic incentives in exchange for their help. Among those approached were the Vorten Federation, a militaristic power known for its aggressive expansionism. The Vortens, having seen the potential of the human technology and the threat it posed, were intrigued by the Xoreth's offer. They saw an opportunity to enhance their own military capabilities and secure a strong position in the galaxy. After some negotiation, the Vortens agreed to form an alliance with the Xoreth, promising military support and resources in exchange for technology and strategic advantages. Meanwhile, the Krithar Coalition, a group of independent planets known for their neutrality, also took notice of the situation. The coalition's leaders were concerned about the rising tensions and the potential for widespread conflict. They feared that the galaxy could be plunged into chaos if the Xoreth and humans continued their struggle unchecked. The coalition decided to take a proactive approach, seeking to mediate between the two sides and prevent further escalation. The Krithar reached out to the human warship, initiating a dialogue with the crew. They offered to act as intermediaries and suggested a meeting to discuss potential peaceful solutions. The humans, eager to avoid unnecessary conflict and build positive relations, welcomed the offer. They saw the coalition as a potential ally and a valuable source of support in their efforts to establish themselves in the galaxy. The Tuvran Syndicate, a shadowy and secretive organization, also took a keen interest in the developments. The Syndicate had been monitoring the situation closely, looking for ways to exploit the ongoing conflict for their own gain. They saw the human warship as a potential asset and began to make discreet inquiries, seeking to establish a covert relationship with the humans. The Syndicate offered to provide intelligence and logistical support in exchange for favors and access to advanced technology. As these alliances formed, the human warship's crew worked diligently to build relationships and strengthen their position. They engaged in diplomatic efforts with the Krithar coalition and negotiated trade agreements with the Syndicate. The humans were careful to balance their alliances and avoid becoming too reliant on any single faction. They knew that maintaining flexibility and independence was crucial in the ever-changing landscape of galactic politics. The Xoreth Empire, now bolstered by the Vorten Federation's support, began to regroup and plan their next moves. They hoped that their new allies would provide the necessary strength to challenge the human warship and regain their lost territory. The Xoreth were determined to show that their earlier defeat was an isolated incident and that they remained a dominant force in the galaxy. The Krithar coalition continued their efforts to mediate between the conflicting sides, striving to find a diplomatic resolution that would prevent further bloodshed. They organized peace talks and encouraged dialogue, hoping to bring about a lasting solution to the tensions between the humans and the Xoreth. The galaxy, now more interconnected and dynamic than ever, was on the brink of a new era. The formation of alliances and shifting loyalties set the stage for a complex and uncertain future. The human warship, once a solitary force, was now a central player in the galactic arena, with new allies and potential adversaries shaping the course of events. This part of the story concludes with the formation of new alliances and the ongoing efforts to navigate the shifting political landscape. The stage is set for further developments and interactions as the galaxy adapts to the emerging power of humanity. War breaks out. The galaxy was a hotbed of tension as alliances formed and political maneuvers unfolded. The human warship, now backed by the Krithar coalition and the Tuvran Syndicate, had made significant strides in establishing itself as a formidable power. Meanwhile, the Xoreth Empire, fortified by their alliance with the Vorten Federation, was preparing for a decisive confrontation. The fragile peace that had been maintained through negotiations and diplomatic efforts began to crumble as both sides prepared for conflict. The Krithar coalition's attempts to mediate had failed to resolve the underlying issues, and the stakes had risen too high for either side to back down. The galaxy braced itself for the inevitable clash. The first signs of war began when a skirmish erupted along the border of Xoreth and human-controlled territories. A minor incident involving a border dispute quickly escalated into a full-scale battle. The Xoreth fleet, now bolstered by the Vorten's military might, launched a coordinated attack on human outposts and supply lines. The human warship, along with its new allies, was quickly mobilized to respond. The battle began with intense exchanges of fire. The Xoreth and Vorten forces, equipped with formidable weaponry and tactics, pressed their advantage, aiming to overwhelm the human defenses. The humans, however, were not unprepared. They fought back with determination, utilizing their advanced technology and strategic planning to counter the assault. The Krithar coalition, though officially neutral, found itself drawn into the conflict. Their peacekeeping forces were caught in the crossfire as they attempted to maintain order and protect civilian populations. The coalition's leaders struggled to keep their own factions unified while addressing the growing humanitarian crisis caused by the war. As the conflict spread, the Tehran Syndicate took advantage of the chaos. They provided covert support to both sides, seeking to profit from the ongoing battles. Their operatives worked behind the scenes, supplying intelligence and resources to the highest bidder. The syndicate's actions only fueled the conflict, making it even more challenging to reach a resolution. The war quickly became a galaxy-wide affair. Planets and star systems that had previously remained neutral or uninvolved were drawn into the fighting. The human warship's allies and the Xoreth's new supporters clashed across various fronts, leading to widespread destruction and suffering. The galaxy's major powers were now fully engaged, each pursuing their own interests amid the chaos. Despite the scale of the conflict, the human warship and its allies remained resilient. The crew of the warship, hardened by their earlier battles, continued to fight with skill and courage. They launched daring raids, disrupted enemy supply lines, and targeted key strategic points. The Xoreth and Vorten forces, though formidable, faced a well-coordinated and determined opposition. The conflict also had a significant impact on civilian populations. Planets caught in the crossfire experienced widespread devastation, and many civilians were forced to flee their homes. The humanitarian crisis grew, with relief efforts struggling to keep up with the needs of displaced populations. The Krithar Coalition, despite their attempts to maintain neutrality, found themselves increasingly involved in relief and peacekeeping efforts. As the war raged on, both sides suffered heavy losses. The human warship and its allies endured significant battles, but they also achieved important victories. The Xoreth and Vorten forces, while powerful, faced mounting challenges as they attempted to push their agenda. The conflict showed no signs of abating, and the galaxy seemed to be on the brink of a prolonged and devastating war. The story concludes this part with the outbreak of full-scale war. The galaxy is engulfed in conflict, with major powers and factions clashing across multiple fronts. The human warship, along with its allies, is deeply entrenched in the struggle, facing a formidable enemy while grappling with the broader implications of the escalating conflict. Turning the tide. The galaxy was engulfed in chaos as the war between the Xoreth Empire and the human-led coalition raged on. Planets were devastated, and the fighting seemed endless. However, amidst the turmoil, a glimmer of hope emerged. The human warship and its allies were beginning to turn the tide in their favor. The human warship, under the command of its skilled crew, had endured the initial onslaught of the Xoreth and Vorten forces. They had suffered heavy losses, but had also learned from each battle. Their tactics and strategies evolved with each engagement, and their advanced technology was becoming increasingly effective against the enemy. One of the pivotal moments came when the human warship launched a daring offensive against a key Xoreth stronghold. The attack was meticulously planned, with the human crew using their knowledge of Xoreth tactics and weaknesses to their advantage. They executed a series of precision strikes, targeting the Xoreth's command centers and supply depots. The assault was successful, and the Xoreth stronghold fell. The victory had a profound impact on the war. The Xoreth Empire, already stretched thin by the ongoing conflict, faced a significant setback. The loss of their stronghold disrupted their operations and left them vulnerable to further attacks. Emboldened by their success, the human-led coalition intensified their efforts. They launched coordinated offensives across multiple fronts, exploiting the weaknesses they had identified in their enemies' defenses. The Vorten Federation, despite their initial confidence, found themselves increasingly on the defensive as the human warship's advanced technology and tactics took their toll. The Krithar Coalition, which had initially been focused on peacekeeping, began to play a more active role in the conflict. Their forces, now more experienced and better equipped, joined the human-led coalition's offensives. The coalition's involvement provided crucial support, and their presence helped to stabilize areas that had been previously unstable. The Tehran Syndicate, initially an opportunistic player in the war, faced growing pressure from both sides. The syndicate's covert operations and manipulations were becoming harder to sustain as the conflict intensified. The syndicate's influence waned, and their attempts to profit from the war were increasingly unsuccessful. The human warship's crew, motivated by their earlier victories and the desire to protect their home, continued to fight with determination. They adapted their tactics to counter the evolving strategies of their enemies. The crew's ingenuity and resilience became a significant factor in the shifting balance of power. As the tide turned, the human-led coalition managed to secure a series of strategic victories. The capture of key Xoreth and Vorten installations weakened their supply lines and command structures. The Xoreth Empire and the Vorten Federation, facing mounting losses and internal pressure, began to reconsider their strategies. The war's impact on civilian populations was severe, but the human-led coalition's efforts to provide aid and relief helped to mitigate some of the suffering. The Krithar Coalition's peacekeeping missions and humanitarian efforts gained recognition and support, further solidifying their role in the conflict. By this stage in the war, the once formidable Xoreth Empire and Vorten Federation were struggling to maintain their positions. The human-led coalition had successfully shifted the balance of power, and the momentum was clearly in their favor. The enemy forces were forced to regroup and reassess their strategies as the tide continued to turn against them. The story reaches a turning point with the human-led coalition's growing success and the shifting dynamics of the war. The Xoreth and Vorten forces, once dominant, now faced a serious challenge as the human warship and its allies made significant gains. The galaxy, though still in turmoil, began to see a potential path to resolution as the balance of power shifted. A new era. After months of intense conflict, the tide of war had shifted dramatically. The human-led coalition, with its allies and advanced technology, had managed to turn the balance of power in their favor. The once dominant Xoreth Empire and the Vorten Federation now found themselves on the defensive, facing mounting losses and internal unrest. The final stages of the war were marked by a series of decisive battles. The human warship, along with the Krithar Coalition and other allies, continued their relentless push against the remaining strongholds of the Xoreth and Vorten forces. The conflict, though still fierce, was now clearly in favor of the coalition. In a significant turning point, the human-led coalition launched a coordinated offensive against the main Xoreth and Vorten command centers. This operation was meticulously planned, with the aim of crippling the enemy's ability to coordinate their defenses and mount effective counterattacks. The assault was a success, leading to the capture of key strategic locations and further weakening the enemy's position. The Xoreth Empire, now struggling to maintain control over its territories, was forced to enter negotiations. The once proud empire, battered by defeat and facing internal dissent, had little choice but to seek a resolution to the conflict. The Vorten Federation, similarly exhausted and stretched thin, joined the Xoreth in seeking an end to hostilities. Peace talks were initiated, bringing together representatives from the human-led coalition, the Xoreth Empire, and the Vorten Federation. The negotiations were intense, with each side presenting their demands and negotiating terms. The human-led coalition, having gained the upper hand, was in a strong position to shape the outcome of the talks. The resulting peace agreement was a landmark moment in galactic history. The Xoreth Empire and the Vorten Federation agreed to withdraw their forces from contested territories and accept new borders established by the coalition. The treaty also included provisions for reparations and the establishment of a new order that would ensure stability and cooperation in the galaxy. The human-led coalition emerged from the negotiations as a significant power in the galaxy. Their victory had not only demonstrated their strength, but also their ability to lead and shape the future. The coalition's success brought about a new era of diplomacy and cooperation, as former adversaries began to forge new alliances and seek collaborative solutions to shared challenges. The Krithar Coalition, having played a crucial role in the peace process, was recognized for their efforts in maintaining stability and providing humanitarian aid. Their reputation as a mediator and peacekeeper was solidified, and they became an important player in the new galactic order. The Tivran Syndicate, which had attempted to exploit the conflict for personal gain, found itself marginalized in the new political landscape. The Syndicate's influence waned as the galaxy moved towards a more stable and cooperative environment. Their activities became increasingly difficult to sustain as the focus shifted away from conflict and towards rebuilding and cooperation. The civilian populations, who had endured the hardships of war, began to rebuild their lives. Relief efforts and reconstruction projects were launched across the galaxy, aimed at restoring communities and addressing the long-term impacts of the conflict. The human-led coalition, along with their allies, worked to provide support and assistance to those affected by the war. As the dust settled, the galaxy entered a new era of peace and cooperation. The conflict that had once threatened to engulf the entire galaxy had led to a redefined political landscape. The human warship and its allies had played a pivotal role in shaping the future, establishing a new balance of power and fostering a sense of hope and possibility. The story concludes with the dawn of this new era, marked by the end of conflict and the beginning of a period of rebuilding and cooperation. The galaxy, once torn by war, now looked towards a future of stability and growth, with humanity at the forefront of this transformative moment.